You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let it happen because bad things will happen if that happens. But everybody stopped. They were ready to make a deal. We would have made a deal that was great for everybody. No nuclear weapons. You can't give them nuclear weapons. Now they're going to have a nuclear weapon.
There is a lot going on in the world today. President Trump and Tulsi Gabbard are both saying that we're just weeks away from Iran having a nuclear weapon operational, ready to use, ready to roll out and use somewhere in the world. Now, if that is true, that is absolutely insane, and we've got a big problem on our hands. I know everyone is saying there's a feud and that everyone's trying to get split up. The MAGA base is splitting up because of Trump's decisions on what he wants to do with Iran. Well, if Iran does indeed get a nuclear weapon operational and ready to use, I think we all need to be on the same team and same page and say, hey, this cannot happen. This cannot fly. Trump actually has been saying this for a long time. So many MAGA people are saying that this is new and they never expected Trump to turn the leaf and go towards war or anything even near going to war. But there is countless footage and there are countless videos of President Trump saying that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Check it out.
Don't let Iran have nuclear weapons. That's my only thing I have to tell you today. Don't let them have it. They would have never had them, including Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's all. They can't have nuclear weapons. It's too destructive, too powerful. They can't have it. But I wanted to make a deal with them. No nuclear weapons. You can't have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the single greatest threat to this world, to the whole world. And Viktor Orban understands that, and some others do too. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. And they weren't going to have one, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon. That was the only thing. The one thing I said, you cannot have. I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great. But you cannot have a nuclear weapon.
You can't let Iran have nuclear weapons.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
It seems like the people in Iran do not like us. Not to be surprised by that at all, but hey, I don't know, man. I don't know. If they do possess a nuclear weapon, it kind of seems like they would use it in the wrong way. I'm just being honest.
Trump administration as well. Many of them were chanting death to America, were chanting death to Israel. We saw them burn American flags and burn Israeli flags.
You will punch the United States and Israel in the mouth, he says. Trump, you are threatening my leader, this woman says. Don't you know my nation believes death is sweeter than honey? What do you have, Israel? He says. You have nothing. You are occupiers, unreligious. You're killing people, killing women. You kill everyone. You're terrorists.
So you can see that anger here being voiced by many of the folks who are walking here in this protest, whereas the Iranian government has said that as long as the Israelis continue their bombing campaign of sites here in Iran, there will be Iranian missiles flying towards Israeli territory. They're calling on President Trump to try and end this direct confrontation. Otherwise, they say, there could be a direct military confrontation between Iran and the United States. The Iranians say it's not something they want, but they also say it's something that they're...
Now, as I said before, they are trying to split the MAGA base. And when you ask who is they, I'm going to tell you, apparently Russia and Iran are using bots and other sorts of technologies to keep the MAGA base split and to keep the Republicans fighting that are in office and to split up the Trump regime. We will see if that works, but hopefully it won't. The mainstream media fell for this, and they were out saying to the president that Tulsi Gabbard is basically going against what Trump is saying about Iran. That's why he said that she's wrong. But in fact, she didn't actually say that. She put out a statement saying that she didn't, how the mainstream media actually was manipulative, and they might have been manipulated by Iran and Russia. How crazy is that? Check it out.
20 years ago, you were skeptical of a Republican administration that attacked a Middle East country on the idea of questionable intelligence of weapons of mass destruction. How is this moment different with Iran?
Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction. I never thought there were. And that was somewhat pre-nuclear. You know, there was a nuclear age, but nothing like it is today. And it looked like I'm right about the material that they've gathered already. It's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen. I was very much opposed to Iraq. I said it loud and clear, but I was a civilian, but I guess I got a lot of publicity. But I was very much opposed to the Iraq war. And I actually did say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But I said, if you're going to go in, keep the oil. But they didn't do that.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
Mr. President, Chinese in any way helping Iran at this moment? Clearing reports of serious planes landing in Iran from China?
No, they say that they're there to take people out.
Iran continues to seek expansion of its influence in the Middle East, despite the degradation to its proxies and defenses during the Gaza conflict. Iran has developed and maintains ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs, including systems capable of striking U.S. targets and allies in the region. Tehran has shown a willingness to use these weapons, including during a 2020 attack on U.S. forces in Iraq and in attacks against Israel in April and October 2024. Iran's cyber operations and capabilities also present a serious threat to U.S. networks and data. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons. Iran will likely continue efforts to counter Israel and press for U.S. military withdrawal from the region by aiding, arming, and helping to reconstitute its loose consortium of like-minded terrorists and militant actors, which it refers to as its axis of resistance. Although weakened, this collection of actors still presents a wide range of threats, including to Israel's population, U.S. forces deployed in Iraq and Syria, and to U.S. and international military and commercial shipping and transit.
Now, I want to get into this clip with Laura Loomer and Tim Pool, talking about how the MAGA base is just completely switching up on President Trump, how so many people turned on him in the blink of an eye just from him trying to make a certain decision. I think that this commonly happens with all presidents. As soon as they take a different stance on something certain people believe in, they'll always just give up. But you got to have some sort of trust. You got to have some sort of faith. You know, you got to trust in God first. And hopefully he'll lead the president in the right decision to make the right decisions. That's how I look at it. But I'm going to trust Trump on this one and hope that he's doing the right thing. Obviously, we don't want to get into another war. But he has said that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon for a long time. But I want you to hear this clip from Tim Pool and Laura Loomer about the situation with the MAGA base splitting. Check it out.
This is interesting. It seems like there's been a shift over the past several years among many prominent personalities who were saying that they were conservative or Trump supporting. There's a bit of a distinction, I suppose, but I largely agree with you. I think Soleimani was in Iraq at the time. Minor difference, I suppose. When Trump said,
"What's the difference, though?" I thought they're trying to say that an airstrike is a full blown declaration of war. So are they saying that we reignited war in Iraq? Are they saying that we reignited war in Syria? They say that Donald Trump is the president of no new wars. So how can you say that Donald Trump is the president of no new wars, which I agree with, and say that the airstrikes on Qasem Soleimani and the airstrikes conducted on al-Baghdadi and ISIS leaders wasn't a new war in the Middle East, but then you're trying to say the airstrikes on possible. And look, the United States hasn't even gotten involved yet, right? The United States hasn't even conducted airstrikes. So they're trying to undermine Donald Trump. Some people like Dave Smith went as far, and he's buddies with Tucker Carlson. Tucker thinks he's amazing. Dave Smith went as far as calling for Donald Trump to be impeached. Impeached over what?
Yeah.
Donald Trump hasn't gotten involved in the conflict in Iran. he has always been consistent in saying that we need to make sure that Iran does not have access to a nuclear weapon. He has instructed Tom Homan and Kirsty Noem over at DHS to secure our borders and to work with Kash Patel, our new FBI director, and to work with Dan Bongino to identify or try to locate some of these 2 million gotaways that came in under Biden's administration, open borders. Many of those 2 million individuals are Iranian proxies. They are Iranian proxies and Hamas and Hezbollah who want to hide, in the shadows. They deliberately took steps to not be detected so that they could get into our country and create their own sleeper cells, probably for the sake of being activated by the Ayatollahs, by the Iranian regime, and attacking the United States in another 9/11 style attack. Everybody's talking about Iran and Israel and President Trump. And you probably have noticed that there's this big push. It's been going on for about 2 weeks now, where you have these so-called right-wing MAGA influencers, people who pretend that they've been with President Trump since the beginning, people who jumped on the bandwagon. A lot of these people are Kennedy's carnival barkers who, supported Kennedy's campaign for president, in which he was intentionally and deliberately trying to undermine the will of 400 million Americans, depriving them their right to vote for president by pushing for a contingent election. So, unfortunately now we're dealing with the consequences of coalition building. We have a lot of people who were unfortunately brought into the MAGA movement because, Kennedy's campaign essentially extorted Donald Trump. And now we have to deal with and play in the sand with all of these carnival barkers from Kennedy's campaign who have very large social media followings themselves. Some of them have been invited to the White House. Some of them are influencing and working with some of these advisors who work with Kennedy. And not only do a lot of these people harbor a deep-seated resentment towards Donald Trump, because let's be honest, right? They don't actually like Donald Trump. Kennedy doesn't actually like Donald Trump. The Democrats who were welcomed into the coalition, right? This big tent, this really big tent that we were told has to get big. We have to coalition build. We got to win this election, guys. We got to bring Democrats into the party and put them in the cabinet, even though they have opposing views with Donald Trump on foreign policy and so many other issues. We're now dealing with the lethal consequences of letting Democrats into our coalition.
I'm not exactly sure how I feel about Laura Loomer. It seems like she does her research and she's damn good at what she does. I do like Tim Cast. His podcast is great. I do like a lot of the takes that he has, but both of them are veterans and they know what they're talking about in the majority of situations. I feel like they're way better than me at this. And I don't know, I kind of can agree with what they're saying. I mean, it doesn't seem like Trump is doing anything new. He's always had these stances. And at the end of the day, if Iran does actually have enriched uranium, and as you see, Tulsi Gabbard is saying that they do, and President Trump is saying that they do, the entire intelligence agency is saying that they are really weeks away from getting a nuclear weapon, then that's a big deal. We got to trust Trump on this one because we can't let that happen. But at the same time, I see where people get the frustration because you've seen so many videos over so many years of Bibi Netanyahu and everybody else in the past saying that Iran is just months and weeks away from having a nuclear weapon. So it seems like the same thing over and over again. And what happens when you cry wolf? We can all understand that. With Russia backing Iran, if China also steps in and backs Iran and they get a hold of a nuclear weapon, or if Trump destroys some nuclear facilities and those two countries back Iran, we're full-scale World War III. Kiss everything goodbye. So, which gamble are you going to take? Do you leave it alone and keep working on some sort of treaty and have negotiation after negotiation after negotiation to where Iran just says, okay, we'll leave it alone and we won't obtain a nuclear weapon and we won't use our enriched uranium to create a nuclear weapon to destroy one of your main cities? Or do you take the gamble and destroy their nuclear facilities, make a huge power move and take the risk of going into World War III? This is a double-edged sword. No matter which way you go about it, it's not going to end well. If they take out the Ayatollah, if they take out the nuclear facilities, it's going to lead to full-scale war. And once allies start joining, and then you have Russia and China and Iran plus the United States and NATO, it's all over. It's all over at that point. So we'll see, but this is a double-edged sword. I don't like to see people turning their back on Trump. I do feel that he is making the best decision that he can off of the information that he has. But this is the hard part about being the president. Put yourself in his shoes. If this is legit, this will be a very, very tough decision to make. I want to know from you guys, what decision would you make? Would you destroy Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities, possibly take out the Ayatollah, and put the world on the brink of World War III? Or would you sit back, relax, keep working on negotiations, and see if maybe Iran won't come up with a nuclear weapon? And if they just leave it alone and never create one, and never create one to use it against us, so we just leave them alone? Will either one of those really be the right way to do things? I mean, I don't know. Is there a third option? I don't know. If you guys are watching Unexplained Outlook, drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Are we on the brink of World War III? Are we on the brink of worldwide destruction? I don't know. It's possible. Always stay prepped. Always stay ready. Keep your head on swivel. Get supplies in your house. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.